episode 46 of This and That and What a Fuck. And in this one we'll be talking about Russia and the sanctions, and the UK, and quite a few items on the Ukraine. And then there's a what a fuck that will make you just shake your head in disbelief and wonder where did we go wrong. Let's go. Russia is slowing the pace of military operation in Ukraine to minimize civilian casualties. Defense Ministry. Sergei Shoigu added Washington's goal is to achieve the attrition of Russia and strategic elimination of competition on the global stage. Well, it doesn't go according to plan for the US here. And then we have this, and there's been a lot of talk about it, and there's a lot of people that are posting shit about this, making all sorts of forecasts and deductions. In the meantime, this is all in line with a decision made by the Kremlin in 2018 already. The plan actually started in 2014. Putin signs a decree to expand the number of Russian military personnel by almost 140,000, boosting the total number of Russian soldiers to 1.15 million. And that is an army of note. And as I said, there are guys that are saying, the Russians are taking a lot of pressure in the Ukraine and Ukraine has got them by the throat. All wishful thinking. And then there's this little interesting thing, and I took it specifically because some Western commentators like to make you believe Russia is a backward Stone Age country. Global world of technology. Russia. Electric scooters with an autopilot are being tested in Moscow, which recognize obstacles and go around them. Such electric scooters will be able to independently drive up to the customer at the agreed place or return to charging. Looks nice. And I've seen a lot of these types of scooters in videos that I check on in Russian cities and so forth. Seems to me the guys like those things. Incidentally, I saw it in some videos that Anya K did in Poland and in Hungary as well. And then we get to this sanction cartoon. IKEA has announced a return to Russia. The loss of a huge market and common sense is stronger than tantrums. Well, there's a lot of companies in the West that are facing the same dilemma. And then we get to the UK and this crazy lady. Iron Liz Truss, a parody of Margaret Thatcher, is ready to start a nuclear war. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, who claims to be the country's Prime Minister after the resignation of Boris Johnson, said she was ready to use nuclear weapons if necessary. I think it's important responsibility for the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do it, she said when asked about the use of nuclear weapons at a meeting with members of the Conservative Party in Birmingham. Guys, this madness must stop. This woman, I nearly used the B word, this woman will get the UK blown off the map. And then we have Bojo the Clown on his final visit to his friend Zelensky. And he utters this. What happens in Ukraine matters to us all. That is why I am in Kiev today. That is why the UK will continue to stand with our Ukrainian friends. I believe Ukraine can and will win this war. What a load of shit. And in the meantime, he brought a farewell gift to Zelensky. $63.7 million from the UK, where the citizens can't pay their electricity accounts, where there's people that are going hungry because of the high energy costs. And this fucker, he can give this $63.7 million to Zelensky. The UK is in deep shit. Rishi admits The pestilence fear messaging claims censorship. Despite being a key figure in the UK PM Boris Johnson cabinet at the time of the pestilence, Rishi Sunak has claimed he wasn't allowed to talk about the side effects of lockdown during his tenure as head of the UK Finance. The PM candidate claims his department's objections at emergency meetings were edited to remove dissenting voices, and he regrets the government's empowered the scientists in the way we did. That is now too little, too late, and I call bullshit. And then there's this little bit of news on the immigrant front. 532 migrants in 11 boats were brought to Dover yesterday, and that was on the 25th of August. I am absolutely dumbstruck by this shit show on the rubber ducks. And we back to Liz Truss. Liz Truss is such an inveterate warmonger that even before being PM, she's starting a conflict with France. When asked if Macron was friend or foe, she replied, "The jury is still out," and Macron said, rightly, that this was somewhat problematic. Guys, this woman is going to get the UK into deep shit. If you think Johnson was a clown, watch this one. And then we're in the Ukraine. The Ukrainian channel resident, citing a source in the president's office, reports that Johnson asked Zelensky to refuse a direct meeting with Putin, which Erdogan suggested. Ukraine should become an example of resilience for the whole of Europe, which is now experiencing an energy and social crisis. Zelensky assured Johnson that there would be no negotiations, and now Ukraine would demand the complete surrender of Russia. What the fuck is that? What the hell are these guys drinking or snorting there in Kiev? And this one, I think we must just simply deduct, or that Mr. Z was on the flower. Ukraine will seize Crimea by any means necessary, Zelensky. The US has previously backed Ukraine's sporadic attacks on the Russian region. Guys, this thing. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky announced on Tuesday that Ukraine will take the Russian territory of Crimea by military force if necessary, and without consulting any country, including Kiev's western backers. The Ukrainian military strikes on the peninsula have thus far been limited. Guys, I think this oak is going through packets full of the white shit on a day. Speaking at the so-called Crimea platform, a Ukrainian organized gathering of 60 nations and international organizations that back Kiev's claim of sovereignty over Crimea, Zelensky said that Ukraine is strong and powerful enough to make the idea of Ukrainian Crimea a reality. We will return Crimea by any means that we consider correct, without consulting with other countries. I know that Crimea is with Ukraine and is waiting for us to return. We need to win the fight against Russian aggression. Therefore, we need to free Crimea from occupation. Well, good luck with that one. And then you get this. Arrested residents in Odessa region for a video in which they denied Russian aggression. Most people are just intimidated, and 80% prefer not to talk about what's happening but to wait quietly. And here is that Zazi arresting that girl, and the West must feel happy because Western taxpayers are financing this shit. And then we've got this one. The Pope is dissatisfied with Zelensky's constant attempts to draw him into the anti-Russian narrative. According to the Vatican specialist journalist Marco Polti, Kiev's constant pressure on Francis on the issue of support for Ukraine irritates the Pontiff. The Vatican does not like when the Pontiff is told what to do, as well as the fact that the Ukrainian authorities censored the television broadcast of the papal procession because it expressed the ideas of peace between Ukraine and Russia. Guys, this Zelensky, I don't know. I am still wondering what the fuck is the West trying to hide or salvage in that part of the world that seems to me to be a snake pit. The Ukrainian command forced foreign mercenaries to rob stores and send them to the meat grinder. The German publication conducted an investigation during which mercenaries who fought in Ukraine were interviewed, who said that they were forced to rob shopping centers, take out furniture and other valuables. Also, the Ukraine command, according to the mercenaries, left them on the front lines without reinforcement and treated them like cannon fat. The mercenaries came to play war and they were sent to rob the mall. We didn't agree to that. And how many of those reports will come out and will be ignored by the West? And then there's some more on that. The soldiers in my unit had to break into the mall to collect furniture, electronics and all sorts of valuables. Canadian military officer described one of several incidents. The locals saw us loading furniture and I was very embarrassed. It feels like we're robbing. That is not why I came to Ukraine. Then a French fighter said, I was ashamed to carry out the order and take out furniture and valuables from stores in front of local residents affected by the war. And it just carries on and on and on. And then there's this. Roger Waters added, Russian political analyst Daria Dugina, who was killed in a car bomb explosion in Moscow on Saturday, now appears as liquidated on the Ukrainian online hit list. The site was created under the watch of the Minister of Internal Affairs. And the West, the Western leaders, don't pay attention to this shit. Scott Ritter spoke about this list also. And there's American senators on that list. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you a new definition of genocide. By the way, this is a screenshot because when I went to a channel which I never interacted with before, I see I'm blocked, but I used another browser to verify the tweet is real and took a screenshot. And here's the screenshot. Genocide alert. Commissioner for Human Rights in the Russian Federation Tatyana Maskolkova has just published a report stating 557,000 Ukrainian children were now in Russia and they could attend school in person free of charge. They aren't even hiding it. What the fuck is wrong with this woman? Because the children are getting schooled. In Kiev, the alleged supplier of drugs for Ukrainian politicians, Yuri Chernetsky, was detained. During the searches, more than 20 bags of cocaine, money and cartridges were confiscated from him. Apparently, Chernetsky was supplying cocaine to the deputies of the Rada. And we can see they are heavy users there in Kiev. And more. And then there's this one from Gonzalo Lira. When the war in Ukraine started, I said, family men are fleeing to the country or the West to avoid conscription. They are emptying jails to use criminals as soldiers. They are arming untrained civilians, which will be a disaster. I was called a Kremlin agent. And now, well, all of this has now been confirmed. And then we've got this one. We need to stop listening to this garbage from Zelensky. There is nothing he'd like more than a radiation incident which would drag NATO into direct conflict with Russia. It is not Russia that is shelling ZNPP. And there's Zelensky making his speech, and I did a screen capture. Ukrainians, all Europeans, today for the first time in history the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant shut down due to Russian shelling. And he wants us to believe him. But, as I said previously, how does it work out? Russian technicians manning that plant, Russians protecting that plant, and then as I say it's Russians bombing themselves. Just more and more craziness. And the following is disturbing. Is there a reason that Ukrainian military wear Zazi regalia? And here's the image. look there on the front of his chest. If that is not Zazi, then tell me what is. And then we get to that, what a fuck. And this is to me as a male, this is extremely disturbing. The idea of beauty in 2005 versus 2022. Society is growing uglier and uglier by the day, and she could have added fatter and fatter. Look at that, it is a disgrace. No, boys, the world is gone fucking crazy and I want to get off this wagon. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and have a great evening.